Have you ever looked at your to-do list, known exactly what you needed to do, and still couldn't bring yourself to start? You tell yourself you'll do it later. Then later comes, and you still don't do it. Eventually, guilt starts creeping in. You feel frustrated, annoyed at yourself. And after a while, you start wondering if you're just lazy. But what if that's not true? What if the problem isn't laziness at all? Because real laziness is actually quite rare. Most people who call themselves lazy care deeply about the things they're avoiding. They want to be productive. They want to improve their lives. They want to get things done. That's why they feel guilty in the first place. A genuinely lazy person doesn't usually spend hours worrying about not being productive. So if you're constantly feeling guilty about what you're not doing, there's a good chance laziness isn't the problem. One reason people struggle to take action is mental exhaustion. When your brain has been carrying stress for weeks or months, even simple tasks can start feeling difficult. Not because they are difficult, but because your mental energy is already being used elsewhere. Think about your phone battery. When it's fully charged, everything runs smoothly. But when it's running low, even basic tasks start becoming a struggle. Your brain works in a similar way. When you're mentally drained, motivation often disappears first. Another reason people mistake themselves for being lazy is overwhelm. When there are too many things competing for your attention, your brain doesn't always know where to begin. So instead of choosing one thing, it chooses nothing. You freeze, you procrastinate, you avoid. Not because you don't care, but because your brain is overloaded. This is why people often spend more time thinking about a task than actually doing it. The task becomes bigger and bigger in their mind until it feels impossible. Another reason you might feel lazy is constant stimulation. Modern life trains us to expect instant rewards. A notification, a message, a video, a quick hit of entertainment. And compared to that, many important things feel slow. Exercise, learning, building a business, improving your finances. These things require patience. And when your brain becomes used to instant rewards, long-term rewards feel less exciting. That doesn't make you lazy, it makes you human. Another thing that often gets mistaken for laziness is fear. There's another reason people often believe they're lazy. They've lost confidence in themselves. Not confidence in general, confidence in their ability to follow through. Maybe they've promised themselves they would start something before. A fitness plan, a business idea, a new habit, a project they cared about, but life got in the way. They stopped. And every time that happens, a small amount of self-trust disappears. Eventually, they stop believing their own promises. They say they'll start tomorrow, but a part of them doesn't believe it anymore. So taking action becomes harder, not because they're lazy, but because they've lost confidence in their ability to stay consistent. The good news is that confidence doesn't come from thinking differently. It comes from proving something to yourself. One small action, one small promise kept, one small step completed, and when you repeat that often enough, self-trust slowly returns. Fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, fear of not being good enough. Sometimes people avoid starting because if they never try, they never have to find out what happens. And while that feels safer in the short term, it creates frustration in the long term because deep down, you know you're capable of more. Another reason people struggle is perfectionism. They tell themselves they'll start when they have more time, more energy, a better plan, the perfect opportunity, but perfection never arrives. So they keep waiting and waiting and waiting while nothing changes. The truth is, progress almost always looks messy. Most successful people didn't start perfectly. They started before they felt ready and figured things out along the way. Another thing to remember is that motivation usually comes after action, not before it. Most people think they need motivation to begin, but often the opposite is true. You begin first, then motivation follows. The hardest part is usually the first 5 minutes. Once you're moving, everything becomes easier. So what should you do if you feel lazy? Start by asking yourself a different question. Instead of asking, why am I so lazy? Ask, what is making this feel difficult? Are you exhausted, overwhelmed, distracted, afraid? Because the answer matters. You can't solve the right problem if you're focused on the wrong one. And for many people, the real problem was never laziness at all. It was mental overload, stress, burnout, fear, or exhaustion hiding behind that label. So if you've been calling yourself lazy lately, take a step back. Be honest with yourself, because you might not need more discipline. You might simply need recovery, clarity, or a smaller first step. And once you stop treating yourself like the enemy, it becomes much easier to move forward. You're probably not lazy. You're probably caring more than you realize.